Welcome back everyone. This is the last part of the chapter, Open Economy Macroeconomics Basic Concepts. The book is Brief Principles of Macroeconomics, 5th edition by N. Gregory Menke. In this part, we will discuss the factors affecting net capital outflow. In the last part, we discussed the factors that affected imports and exports. So naturally, we had to move on to net capital outflow. So first, the definition of net capital outflow. Here we have the formula. NCO, net capital outflow, is equal to acquisition of foreign assets by residents, by domestic residents, minus acquisition of domestic assets by non-residents, that is foreign residents. So this is the formula. The first part says acquisition of foreign assets by domestic residents. So for example, if the domestic resident is an American resident, for them, if they acquire an asset in let's say Germany, if they acquire a foreign asset that is in Germany, then the NCO would increase. And the second part is acquisition of domestic assets by non-residents. So for example, if a German resident they acquire an American asset, so that will increase the NCO for Germany, but that would reduce the NCO for United States. So this is the formula. Now let's discuss how it will impact the factors that impact net capital outflow. Here it is important to understand that if the domestic residents they increase if they increase acquisition of foreign assets, then NCO would increase. That is, it will be positive. However, if foreign residents, they increase acquisition of domestic assets, then NCO would reduce, that is, it will have a negative impact. So the first factor is the real interest rates paid on foreign assets. If the real interest rates paid on foreign assets increases, it will lead to increase in acquisition of foreign assets by residents. Here, the important thing to understand is that if there is an American resident who thinks that purchasing a foreign asset in Germany would be profitable for him or her, then they would acquire it, right? And if the interest rate increases of a foreign asset or a foreign bond, if the interest rate given by the German government on foreign bond increases, then the American citizen would definitely purchase the German bond because the interest rate paid on that bond is higher. So what will happen is the acquisition of foreign assets by American residents would increase. So that is the first case. And the second case is the real interest rates paid on domestic assets. If the real interest rate paid on domestic assets increases, it will lead to increase in acquisition of domestic assets by non-residents. In this case, if, for example, the interest rate of American bonds increase, then German or French citizens would prefer American bonds, right? Because it is paying them higher interest rates, the bond. So they will increase their purchase of American bonds. In that case, the acquisition of domestic assets by non-residents would increase, right? So what will happen? The NCO for United States would reduce because the second part is increasing, so NCO would reduce. So that is the second factor, the real interest rate paid on domestic assets. Now let's move on to the third factor. The third factor is the perceived economic and political risk of holding assets abroad. Economic and political risks. That is the third factor. If there is increased economic or political risk of holding foreign assets, net capital outflow would fall. So for example, if American residents they feel that their investments in a certain foreign country is not safe, then they would cease their investments in that country. So for example, if let's say the economic and political situation in UAE becomes bad or worsens, then that would be a signal for American investors to reduce their investments in UAE. So their holding of assets in UAE would reduce. So it would reduce net capital outflow of United States. That is the third factor. And similarly, if the economic and political risks in a certain country reduce, then the American residents, they would feel safe to invest in that country, and their holdings of foreign assets in that country might increase. So that is the third factor. And the last factor is the government policies that affect foreign ownership of domestic assets. So we are back to the government. Government plays a very important role in an economy as well as international flow of capital. So if the government wants to increase capital outflow, they will change their policies in that way. They might increase the interest rates in the country, for example. So what will happen is that the government, when it aims to increase net capital outflow from foreign countries, they will implement some policies. In that case, then the inflow, the net capital will come in the country, and NCO will fall as more capital will enter the economy. And if the government wants to discourage NCO from foreign countries, which is rarely the case, then they will implement policies which will have negative impact on the NCO. So these are the four factors. I hope you understood them. If you have any question, just put that question in the comment section, and I will definitely answer. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.